Now it's time to fast forward. Are you ready for the Toilet Paper Diaries, Season 2?
Hello everyone, this is Ernesto Verdugo, and on the other side of the world we have Dave Crane, and we are having another episode of the Toilet Paper Diaries. And on this episode you're going to really learn a lot about impact. Dave, tell them possibly a little bit of what we're going to be covering today.
Well, it's amazing, and I've got to say as a slight caveat that I keep blipping in and out. So if I suddenly go missing, then it's because I went shopping. I'm just telling you now. Okay, measuring impacts. We're going to cover a lot of things that people might not know how things come together. If you're into social media or you're interested in building a brand and doing a lot of posting about what you do for a living, what you are interested in, then there's a lot of things you need to know about the impact it has. We're going to show you some of the trade secrets, what happens behind the scenes, and give you some examples that you can watch over the next couple of months to see what they actually turn into. And I think when you get the informed knowledge of what we're going to share with you right here, you'll have a different set of eyes. And I'm being very cryptic with a good reason. You'll know exactly what I'm talking about when you keep watching this show.
Tomorrow we are having Fast Forward, and I think it's just absolutely critical that you go and sign up for the Fast Forward show, because tomorrow we're going to go in depth into this. Now, mind you, we're going to be showing right now exactly how it all works. We're going to be talking about political campaigns. We're going to be talking about gender equality. We're going to be talking about a number of different things, because all of them are having a tremendous impact on the world right now, but also how you could also have impact. And that's why it's very important. Today, we're going to be showing you the what, and tomorrow in Fast Forward, we're going to be showing you the how. Now, I have a disclaimer. Because we're going to be talking politics, and because we're going to be talking about certain issues that can be considered highly controversial, I have to tell you that we are only the narrators. We are only the reporters. We're not taking one side or the other, but we are basically explaining to you how it all works so that you will be able to know what that is. And I see that Dave is doing like he's swimming.
Oh no, that is me saying we're impartial. We're not one side or the other. We're in the middle. We're not taking any side. We want to be. We're on your side. If anything, we want to give you a behind-the-scenes look, because we will be talking around a couple of different subjects which are very sensitive, and it's very important for us to be able to say from the very beginning we're looking from a set of eyes that are completely neutral as far as the broadcast goes. And by the way, you should be following us on Facebook, hopefully. In which case, feel free to share us. Have a watch party. Get lots of friends to be able to join in, share this with everybody, and we'd love to have your comments all the way through the show. So make sure you type it in, and then we will respond and maybe put your name up, and you'll be famous for all your many friends around the world.
Absolutely. I think this is going to be a highly interactive presentation, so we want to hear your comments. Make sure that you share these broadcasts in different groups which are for entrepreneurs. Make sure that you share it in your timeline. Make sure that you start a watch party. And tomorrow, Dave, we are having in Fast Forward a very special guest. Possibly you can tell them a little bit about her.
Absolutely. We've got a very dear friend of mine, Tisha Niehoster, who is an influencer. And as you can see there, she's a global goodwill ambassador. She's an expert in resolving conflict as well. So if you're a follower of LinkedIn, you'll see her stuff popping up and people love it as well. She's got an incredible podcast all about bullying and certainly in terms of children, how to make sure your children are safe. But she's just a really fascinating person to spend time with. So she's going to join us tomorrow on the show. I'm very excited because I was on her podcast a little while ago, and we had a great time. We got on really well, and you'll love her as well when you get to see her tomorrow on Fast Forward. But the only way to find out about Fast Forward is here. Here. there. When it says toiletpaperdiaries.com, that's what you have to do. Go to the website. You'll see lots of beautiful pictures of me, lots of wonderful pictures of Ernesto. And for the first time, it's the only place you will find us together on that page, because I can't touch him. I can't reach him at all because I'm in Dubai and he's in Houston. So make sure you put your details in there, and we'll invite you to come and join us on our special secret page at Fast Forward on Facebook. And then you get to see the interviews and the deep dive we have every single week into all the subjects we cover, and we'll give you the how to make it happen. So it's a very exciting experience, slightly different from the Toilet Paper Diaries and very secretive. Oh, yes.
That is correct. So, Dave, we are both of the same generation. You and I are Gen Xers. But we also do business with baby boomers, and sometimes we are also doing business with millennials, and we're interacted with Seers or Zoomers, depending on how you want to call them, which are our kids. And we all have different ways of seeing the world and the internet. And even though each and every generation uses already the internet, we use it very differently. And I always find it fascinating. For example, for me, my preferred way of communication is WhatsApp. My least preferred way of communication is email. But you know what happens is if you talk to a baby boomer, oh yeah, I will email you this. It's like, for example, when people used to tell you 10 years ago, let me fax you that.
Yeah, exactly. And actually, if I'd had the time, I would have sent you a picture. It's my dad's birthday today, so happy birthday, Dad. And so we were on a Zoom call, and my wife, my daughter, and I all got onto different laptops. And so we had basically 4 screens of us all, my mum and dad in the UK, and the 3 of us in this house. And it was like the Brady Bunch, but you had 3 different versions of Crane generation, myself in the middle, my dad, and my daughter. And it was really interesting, not just the conversations, because obviously as a family we joke about and stuff, but the different attitude to tech. My daughter is completely immersed in tech. She loves it. She feels completely comfortable. She likes to just chill out going into augmented reality on the HTC Vive, and she cooks and she goes on holiday, and she's completely immersed in the world, and she can stay in there for hours. For me, I'll dip my feet in, have a little shooty gunny game, but I feel comfortable and I really enjoy it. But at the same time, I always want to get back into the real world. Now, the thing is, everything's changing so quickly that for people our generation, and certainly people older than us, if you're not aware of the impact that's going to come in the next 12 months from virtual reality, augmented reality, and artificial intelligence, and it's not just talking about the gaming world. A lot of gamers have stopped playing and gone into a normal office job. And they bring all the sensibilities, all the graphics, and all the fun. So if you're not ready to play or do things differently, then you're going to be left out. The generations are all going to have to come together, and it's going to be interesting to see in the next 12 months exactly what happens.
Yeah, so let's just have a quick video on how people of different generations actually have the internet embedded into their lives. I think that's just a very good start for what we're going to be covering today. Have a look.
In a lot of ways, I'm glad I grew up when I did. When I talk with younger coworkers and friends, I think they missed a lot of uncertainty growing up that I was lucky enough to have.
I feel like my generation doesn't know how to actually communicate with a person or get in touch with a person if they're not using social media or calling or texting.
It was really nice growing up with the sense of like, these are trees, these are people, I have to go and interact with them.
I can see the difference between life before the internet and life after the internet.
I got to see the cusp of a lack of internet technology into how it sort of evolved and became integrated into our lives.
I can't imagine not living without the internet. I don't want to live without the internet. It's like a whole section of my life.
Well, people pay more attention to each other, at least on my memory they did.
For me, I do appreciate the internet. I'm not against it by no means because of my age group, but I believe we had something very special.
I'm glad I grew up when I did, because when I see people growing up now, I'm relieved that there is still like human communication
The uncertainty of when you called a young woman that maybe you're interested in, you had a phone number for her, and you called that phone number, and you didn't know who was going to answer, if anyone. Sometimes no one would answer. Sometimes she would answer. That was great. That was the ideal scenario. Sometimes a parent would answer. Worst case, you got an older brother. You may even hang up then. And now kids, they don't have that. You text and communicate through all sorts of different DMs and snap streaks and whatever, and you don't have to worry about the older brother picking up the phone when you're just trying to call to see what's up.
There we go. Talking about the dating situation, I remember years ago when I was living in my parents' house, and it is quite clearly years ago, my dad is very similar to me. He's got the same sounding voice, we even look alike. And what used to happen would, I'd have girlfriends call me up. My dad would pick up the phone because it wasn't a mobile in those days. It was one of those big, heavy dring. Well, it wasn't big dring, but you could press the buttons on it. And so my dad would talk to them for about 5-10 minutes, pretending to be me, and then say, "Oh, right, you want to talk to Dave then?" And then he'd call me downstairs. And he'd just have a great time chatting up all my girlfriends. Now, of course, I'm not saying I had many, and of course, I'm a very good boy. But I'm just sharing the story because that's what it was like dating in the Stone Ages.
So anyway, but right now we have been forced to go into a virtual world. And some people have embraced it. The millennials specifically have embraced it, and they're very happy that they have to work from home. Some of the people from the Generation X are still very confused. I mean, our own generation, and let alone the boomers. The boomers are also a little bit confused. So Dave, possibly you can build a little bit on this specific topic, which is happening right now during the post-pandemic world, and how much is it going to impact the way that communication is done and business is done?
Well, one of the things to look at is right now, everybody in every business has been in lockdown for about 2 to 3 months. So people are going to come out of it, and so many people wanted to snap back to exactly the way it was. And so it's really a case of who's adapting to new technology, who's embracing new technology, and who's ready to go forward with what we've got. So people who are younger generally don't mind if we come out of it and we can dump a lot of the stuff that used to be there before. But it's going to be a challenging time for anybody who's got their investment and their business and their mindset stuck in the old way of doing things, because things are rapidly turning differently than we had them before. So when you look into it, I think you'll see it's actually a perfect storm of everything coming together. We're all in different boats, but the whole action sequence is something that we've never seen before. So if you're not prepared for it, and you've not set off for it, and you haven't got your boat in order, and you haven't got your provisions, you haven't got your team, you haven't got your planning, you're going to run out of time rapidly to be able to do something. And this is a clip from that movie, The Perfect Storm, with George Clooney and Mark Wahlberg. Amazing film. And that's kind of where we are right now. And I think what's made it even more crazy is the amount of stuff that's happening. So you've got COVID-19, you've got a coronavirus that won't go away. You've got the demonstrations, you've got racism and the activism that's going on across the globe, not just in America or the UK, across the globe. You've got LGBT rights, you've got gay rights, all about getting the ability to get healthcare and all the rest of it. You've got Twitter making decisions about whether we're going to censor or not. You've got fake news, you've got politics going bonkers, you've got deep fakes, and you've got divisions that are across the board that we all want to mend. Now that means that if you add any one of them, that would be enough to go, oh my goodness, what are we going to do? But there's so many of them, we're almost becoming complacent. And like we said before, if we read in the paper yesterday, aliens landed, you go, oh yeah, sure. They probably just came to do some shopping. It wouldn't surprise anymore. What do you think, Ernesto?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, right now we're living in very tumultuous times. And what's happening is that, whenever there's uncertainty or whenever, it's one of those rules on sales is whenever people are confused, they don't take action. And this is exactly the whole point. I mean, right now people are very confused. In our industry, which is the speaking industry, we see a lot of speakers which have basically gone paralyzed because they really do not know how to act. They do not know what's going on. And this, of course, as we were mentioning earlier, this is also going to have a big impact. As we can see over here, on the clip down there, if we don't do anything, basically the wave is going to be taking over us. And that's why it's so absolutely critical that you understand the concepts and the repercussions of all this perfect storm that we are living in.
But it's not just a case of understanding the implications of a perfect storm. You have to do something, but you could easily do the wrong thing. Something you think about saying right now could come back to haunt you, especially when we went into lockdown and people were saying everything. Right now, influencers are being held to task. Right now, one of the things that's been crazy, but it's been very interesting, is when people have been talking about, what was the phrase? White... when you believe that the better, what's the phrase? There's a phrase that's used for it. White positioning. You know what I mean? Where basically people of color are being held to task on video. So, for instance, there was that case with Amy Cooper where the birdwatcher, the black guy, the birdwatcher was saying, "Don't walk your dog without a leash." So the lady turned around and said, "Right, I'm going to phone the police and tell them there's an African American attacking me." And so that came back to bite, and she lost her job as a result. Now, this is a different age. White privilege, thank you. Brenda's just told me what the phrase was, because I was going to go around forever and ever. But this is something that's been held to task right across the board, not just in white privilege, in lots of other things. Whatever you do now, because it's a social media world, and we touched on it there about dating. You know, if you're on Tinder or Grindr or wherever you get your kicks, there's a very good chance that your profile could come back to bite you. And my wife won't let me go on them, which is probably a very good thing. So be careful what you post, be careful what you say, but at the same time, you have to be out there. So you've got to choose the right way to move forward. And sometimes it's about being neutral and being safe. But if you're too neutral and too safe, nobody will notice you. I think it's a big challenge for everybody, especially when things are moving left and right all over the place.
Yeah, we were just talking about the difference of how the campaigns are actually going right now. I mean, right now we are getting into full-fledged into presidential campaigns here in the United States, and seeing it from the point of view of marketers. And that's why I want to once again make that specific point that we are not taking one side or the other, but of course it's interesting to see how things are going. Right now, yesterday, I was watching this video, which I thought it was really clever from the Biden camp, where they were basically picturing Joe Biden and Barack Obama running and having water and with really nice music. And then you see in the other side, you see President Trump walking down from West Point and having difficulties having his water. So right now, one of the important things is that you need to understand that we are so, right now, the perfect storm is really brewing, and you have to understand the impact of anything you do on the internet. Let's just have a look at this video that also the Biden camp put. So bear in mind, we are not talking politics. We're basically showing you exactly what is going on. Have a look.
Well, I want to talk to the Trump supporters for a minute. What is Donald Trump's campaign about? He's a race-baiting, xenophobic, religious bigot. And you know how you make America great again? Tell Donald Trump to go to hell. If you can't admire Joe Biden as a person, then it's probably you got a problem. You need to do some self-evaluation, because what's not to like? He is as good a man as God ever created. He said some of the most incredibly heartfelt things that anybody could ever say to me. He's the nicest person I think I've ever met in politics. This is a defining moment in the future of the Republican Party. We have to reject this demagoguery, and if we don't reject Donald Trump, we've lost the moral authority, in my view, to govern this great nation.
So the interesting challenge for that is, of course, Lindsay Graham has done a complete 180 turn since he made that. That was before in 2016 when he wasn't with Trump, but now he is. So that stuff is fair game. It's out in public, and in certain countries, certainly in Dubai, you're not allowed to use anybody else's images and stuff without asking. But in most countries, it's accessible. If you put it on social media, YouTube, wherever, then anybody can use it and anybody can play with it. And so you can be ultra careful what you put out there, because it can come back and get used against you. And it might seem that you only see it with politics and politicians, but if somebody wanted to score a game against you, or somebody wanted to score some points with a client, then you don't know what could be used. in evidence against you just over a coffee conversation. So you've always got to be very careful what you do. I mean, I don't know if, Ernesto, you've ever been caught with dodgy videos or anything like that?
No.
Not dodgy, but I mean, I know you're very careful about what you put out onto the internet as well.
Well, for me, the most important thing, and this is the first thing that I want you guys to write down, and this is what we're going to be covering tomorrow in depth in Fast Forward, how to own your digital blueprint. This is or footprint, not blueprint, but footprint. And that is just very critical. Right now, and I will show you a video in a moment about that, if you dominate your footprint, then what's going to happen is that the possibilities of you being affected by all this craziness, by the fake news and by the deep fakes, which we will be talking about a little bit later on, are not as bad. But now that you started to understand what's going on over here, let's just mix a few more of the ingredients that Dave was talking about a little bit earlier. Now, right now, for example, every single person which is in their house, working on their garage, for example, I am working on my garage. I want to have an impact with people. Dave also wants to have an impact working from his house, from his home office. What are we doing? We are doing a show like the Toilet Paper Diaries. We are doing a show like Fast Forward. We are trying to have an impact from a digital and virtual world. So every single thing that happens has a repercussion, that has an impact on what we're doing. So let's just involve now, for example, what's going on, the protests, the Black Lives Matter movement. This is just not something that started right now. I mean, this is something that has been already brewing for a number of years. In fact, if you remember how this whole thing started taking attention from the media, was with Colin Kaepernick, and you can Colin Kaepernick. Sorry, you can actually see the entire timeline on this video. Now, this is important for you to understand because you can see how the impact is measured, which is exactly what this video is all about. Have a look.
When Nike announced that Colin Kaepernick would be the face of its new Just Do It campaign, he tweeted this picture with the caption, "Believe in something, even if it means sacrificing everything," which is exactly what he did. And if you don't believe me, let's take a look at how he got to this point. It all began in August of 2016. Kaepernick is seen sitting during the national anthem before the 49ers preseason game. After the game, he said, quote, "I'm not going to stand up to show pride in a flag for a country that oppresses black people and people of color." A few days later, he decides he's going to kneel instead of sit because it shows more respect for current and former members of the military. Within weeks, Kaepernick reveals he's been receiving death threats for his protests. But the day after making this announcement, Time magazine puts Kaepernick on their cover. Fast forward to March of 2017. Kaepernick decides he's going to opt out of his contract with the 49ers and test out free agency. After all, a 7-year vet who's been to the Super Bowl and just threw 16 TD passes has to have some suitors, right? Nick Foles, EJ Manuel, Geno Smith, Mike Glennon all ink deals in free agency while Kaepernick still doesn't have a job. The word blackballed begins to trend online. In June, the Seahawks invited a few quarterbacks, including Kaepernick, to a workout, and in the end signed Austin Davis? NFL Commissioner Roger Goodell continues to say NFL teams are making, quote, football decisions. September of 2017. Enter Donald Trump. In a series of tweets and this comment at a rally in Alabama.
"Wouldn't you love to see one of these NFL owners, when somebody disrespects our flag, to say, 'Get that son of a bitch off the field right now, out, he's fired. He's fired!'"
Trump makes his opinions on the protests pretty clear. The number of players who immediately joined Kaepernick's protest goes through the roof, but his job offers do not. October 15th, 2017, Kaepernick files a collusion grievance suit against the NFL saying he hasn't been signed because of his protests. Players around the league continue protesting. And in May of 2018, the league announces a new policy. In short, you can stay in the dressing room during the anthem, but if you come to the field, you have to stand. It takes less than 2 weeks for the NFLPA to challenge this policy, and both sides agree to put it aside, at least for now. Finally, August 31st, an arbitrator denies the NFL's request to dismiss Kaepernick's case, saying there's enough evidence to send the case to a full hearing. And that brings us to this point. Kaepernick as the face of Nike's campaign. Some like it, others don't. One thing is for sure, he believed in something and sacrificed everything.
It's really difficult to be able to summarize what he's done when you see police, army, everybody takes a knee around the world to make a point that they believe in what he had to get trampled down with. And it reminds me of Rosa Parks, and it reminds me of a lot of people in history, not just about the black movement, but about lots of different things. To make that stand, you've got to really stick yourself out there, and you run the risk of damage, you run the risk of abuse, you run the risk that everybody will just alienate you and not talk to you, never deal with you again. And rewards are worth it, but sometimes you've got to sacrifice it for something that's a cause that's bigger than you. And I think anybody who's pioneering and taking a stand like Colin did there deserves respect. Respect's going to come years later, but of course him and his family have spent a long time without any employment, apart from sponsorship from Nike.
Just today, I heard that the commissioner of the NFL wants him back playing, so they want to make sure that he's actually back playing. So right now, let's just say hello to Atala, Carola, Janice, Brenda, and everybody which is watching. I would like to hear your comments on these, because possibly, we're just building a little by little towards where we want to go, but I think it's just very interesting. About 10 days ago or 2 weeks ago, something like that, there was a space launch. But with all this craziness of the coronavirus and of the protests and of every single thing, this incredible mankind accomplishment has been completely overshadowed. And that's why you need to understand this story of what we want to talk about, impact. So as we can see, there's been a natural disaster, if you want to put it like that. The coronavirus. We are having now the political craziness, which of course we don't. We want to make sure that we put it there so that you understand what it is. We're not taking sides, and then we have a movement. And right now, this movement is becoming absolutely crazy. Now, there's a video that it's called the Dancing Shirtless Guy. If you have never seen it, I think it's absolutely critical that you have a look right now, because that's exactly how the whole thing works. And we will tell you afterwards how you can also get it implemented on your business.
If you've learned a lot about leadership and making a movement, then let's watch a movement happen start to finish in under 3 minutes and dissect some lessons. First, of course, a leader needs the guts to stand alone and look ridiculous. But what he's doing is so simple, it's almost instructional. This is key. You must be easy to follow. Now here comes the first follower with a crucial role. He publicly shows everyone else how to follow. Notice how the leader embraces him as an equal. So it's not about the leader anymore. It's about them, plural. Notice how he's calling to his friends to join in. So it takes guts to be a first follower. You stand out and you brave ridicule yourself. Being a first follower is an underappreciated form of leadership. The first follower transforms a lone nut into a leader. If the leader is the flint, the first follower is the spark that really makes the fire. Now here's the second follower. This is a turning point. It's proof the first has done well. Now it's not a lone nut and it's not two nuts. 3 is a crowd and a crowd is news. A movement must be public. Make sure outsiders see more than just the leader. Everyone needs to see the followers, because new followers emulate followers, not the leader. Now here come 2 more people, then 3 more immediately. Now we've got momentum. This is the tipping point, and now we have a movement. As more people jump in, it's no longer risky. If they were on the fence before, there's no reason not to join in now. They won't stand out, they won't be ridiculed, and they will be part of the in crowd if they hurry. And over the next minute you'll see the rest who prefer to stay part of the crowd, because eventually they'd be ridiculed for not joining. And ladies and gentlemen, that is how a movement is made. So let's recap what we've learned. If you are a version of the shirtless dancing guy, all alone, remember the importance of nurturing your first few followers as equals, making everything clearly about the movement, not you. Be public, be easy to follow. But the biggest lesson here, did you catch it? Leadership is overglorified. Yes, it started with the shirtless guy, and he'll get all the credit, but you saw what really happened. It was the first follower that transformed a lone nut into a leader. There's no movement without the first follower. See, we're told that we all need to be leaders, but that would be really ineffective. The best way to make a movement, if you really care, is to courageously follow and show others how to follow. When you find a lone nut doing something great, have the guts to be the first person to stand up and join in.
Every time I watch it, it says one thing to me. What are they listening to that makes you dance like that, and where can I get some? Because it's just bonkers. But the point is there about the fact that when you want to do something differently, people won't get it, but then they pick up on it, and then suddenly it becomes a thing. And I think that's the key to what we're saying here. And I think many people are scared of making a first move. But if you look at everything that we have, from even doing a web TV show to our mobile phones to whatever, somebody somewhere came up with an idea, and it had to be championed. It had to be having somebody saying, actually, that's really good. Show me some more. Apparently, something like 70% of inventions die with the inventor because they can't speak about it enough to sell the idea to somebody who could take it to turn it into a thing. And I'm sure that's true. The numbers are probably worse than that. So it's so important you do stick your neck out and do take a risk of ridicule. But, you know, it's fine. I've been ridiculed many times. I will be again.
Yeah. So we are right now still, most of us are in self-confinement. Most of the offices, you go there and they are still, not everybody's working in their own office. How can you do an impact? How can you start a movement? And that, I think, is the most important thing, whether it is for your business, whether it is for yourself. You're starting to see that you need to come out of the shell, and you have to, you know, it's okay. You shouldn't really be afraid of being ridiculed, because of course, little by little, the moment that you start getting, and you're going to have the second person there, like in the video, and then you're going to have more and more people. Right now, I mean, this is exactly how we have seen it. I mean, we started doing the toilet paper diaries. The first time that we did the show, we had 2 people watching. Then we have 4 people watching. Then we have 8 people watching. And right now, every time that we go live, we know that whether it is for the live show or whether it is going to be for the replays, what's going to happen is there's going to be 1,000, 1,500 people every single time. And this is one of those things that you need to understand. I mean, if you want to have an impact, you need to be set out there, and you need to be talking about the true self, because you know everything can be twisted right now. And then what happens is, then as soon as there is a movement, there can be another movement. See, for example, right now we are getting the Black Lives Matter movement, but what is the second movement, which is also being very strongly benefited from all these things? The gay rights. I mean, recently all the LGBTQ,
the correct way of saying it.
One thing leads to the other and moves to the other, and then suddenly all the wheels of the engine start moving.
So one of the things that we talked about on the previous show, we've only been into the second season for about 2 weeks, is we talked about the difference between All Lives Matter and Black Lives Matter, which is a very controversial subject, because I know a lot of people say All Lives Matter, you shouldn't say Black Lives, but there's a reason why black people, and it's not just black people, this is an interesting thing, when you see the people who are protesting, actually it seems to be more white faces than anything, but one thing is true, it's the age. More millennials than any other age. And the reason that Black Lives Matter is so important as a phrase is what happens is if you can get change to happen for Black Lives Matter, then everybody else who needs a change can ride off the back of that new mindset and get theirs. If everybody tries to do it at the same time, there's so much noise that those who need to make a decision can sit back and let everybody fight it out, knowing fine well that the emphasis on them changing can disappear. So now you've got LGBTQ, which when it came to medical insurance and rights, the Senate recently in the US turned around and said, yeah, we support that as well. That means that the Me Too movement and many other organizations that really need to get support and get a change in the way that society is, not just in the US, but all around the world, can now start finding their voice as well, which I think makes it really interesting. But it has to start with something, and it has to start with someone. And I think whenever you pick a battle, you should always choose one that you know has a chance to win.
Yeah, we're having here a message from our friend Janice Hooker-Forman, which is telling us about the 1968 Olympics, that some black people were actually taken away their rights, and they of course stood there. And so this is just something that has been going on already for a number of years. And right now we are exactly at the point of momentum, which is really going to be getting very, very high. It's going, okay, a little by little, little by little. But the thing is, the moment that you understand the whole process, then that's when suddenly things go very fast. Now, there's a couple of problems of what is going on right now, and caveats of why people get, very frustrated, very upset, and they start really going head against head, like if they will be rams. And this is the fact that sometimes there's a lot of fake news. Here's a very interesting video on how fake news actually get distributed. This was done by a journalist from the BBC. Have a look.
Want to know why coronavirus started? Or what might cure it? Well, search online and you'll find thousands of answers, many of which aren't true. I investigate disinformation for the BBC, and I'm often asked, who starts these rumours and who spreads them? Well, as always, the answer isn't straightforward, so I've broken them down into 5 different types. 1. The Joker. Lots of people have been sharing funny posts and memes online, and some of them are pretty good, but others go too far and people actually believe that they're true. 2. The Scammer. This lot are looking to make money from the pandemic. Some create fake texts trying to get hold of your bank account details, or others plug dodgy advice looking to sell their remedies and cures. 3. The Politician. The people in charge can also spread fake news. That includes officials and state-sponsored media from around the world. Officials in China and the US have been trading misinformation since the start of the virus, each accusing the other of deliberately creating it. Of course, neither of those claims are true. And there are concerns about foreign interference. That's when states spread misleading information abroad in order to further their own aims. But it can be very difficult to trace interference back to the people in charge, or to figure out who are behind networks of fake accounts that are pushing misleading information. 4. The Conspiracy Theorist. These people think that nothing is as it seems. They've falsely linked 5G to coronavirus, speculated about who created it, or even suggested that coronavirus doesn't exist at all. None of these are true. These ideas have been bouncing around on the internet for a while, but they've started getting more attention as worried people look for quick answers to their questions. 5. The Insider. There's information that apparently comes from someone you'd trust, an unnamed doctor, professor, or hospital worker. But it turns out they don't exist, or if they do, it seems to be a game of Chinese whispers gone wrong. And this misinformation goes viral because it's shared, often by a relative in your WhatsApp group who passes it on just in case, or by a celebrity who amplifies it to their thousands of followers. Tech companies, media regulators, and governments decide what happens when people start and spread misinformation. But ultimately, we're all responsible for stopping its spread. Check out our top tips for spotting and stopping misleading stuff online, and think before you share.
So relevant. And one of the things, I was reading a book all about it. I can't remember the name of the book. I'll find it and I'll share it tomorrow on our Fast Forward show. But the news, I'm a BBC trained journalist, and when I first studied to be a journalist, the deal was you had to find 2 sources before you could mention anything on the radio. So if you had a story, and I remember having a story during the it was one of the Gulf Wars, where there's a 79-year-old soldier picked up by British soldiers from the other side. I won't say which war, where it was. So a British soldier had said that they had this 79-year-old guy, and he wouldn't get me the verification of himself and anybody else because he didn't want to mention his name in case he got into trouble. So he didn't use a story. It was a great story, but didn't use a story. I talked to Kate Adie, who's a very famous British news reporter and editor for foreign news. And she was saying that the way that it works is she hates citizen journalism. And that's when people take a picture, take a video, send it in, and I've got a story. What they do is when somebody calls up the BBC, or this is what certainly they did when she was in charge, you have to ask them what their contact details are and say you'll call them back. Then you go online and see if this person has any credibility. Are they likely to be a real source of this story? If the answer is yes, then you call them back and get their story. Now, this is very different from the way that news works nowadays in many cases, because sponsorship and money comes from eyeballs. It comes from people watching a story and being really interested in it enough to share and talk about it. But there's two things that get people interested. They get interested in things that scare them and make them really angry, and things that make them laugh. Those are the two areas. Anything that's in the middle, that's moderate or makes you sad or makes you happy or makes you okay, but you want to do something about it, but you don't, they're ignored. So therefore, the most outrageous stories you can think of are the ones that actually put money into the journalist's pocket. Because right now in journalism, it's a really difficult job to have. So what this means is that ultimately, a lot of the stories that you get are made just to get eyeballs. And it's been proven that if you create a good enough story and it's bonkers enough, you can get enough people from your actual blog to take it to a bigger blog and end up taking it all the way to one of the big news agencies. And you can see it on TV in the next 24 hours just by starting it. And a lot of these stories, you can see them happening. So what does that mean? It also means that the secondary, when you do create a story that is a lie, or you've made it up, or you say something terrible about a celebrity, when you retract the story, you should really, from our BBC training, you should give same size, same weight to the retraction. But here's the thing with the deep news, and here's the thing with fake news. Even if you retract and say, I'm completely sorry, that celebrity didn't do that, it was a false statement, nobody will care and nobody will read it. All they'll do is say, oh yeah, that celebrity, aren't they the one who did this? Because that's the nature of doing stuff so quickly, and that's the nature of what people view for the media. And so it's a real challenge. Whenever you create your content as a speaker or as a blogger or as a social media influencer, be aware that people will follow it because it's exciting and it makes a difference to them, makes them angry is the fastest way to do it. And everything you read might not be true. It might just be there to get people interested, to make somebody some money.
Yeah, right now what's going on, and that's why I think it's important that we actually put this into perspective. So we are in a crazy world. We're in a perfect storm. There's fake news, and there's people doing memes, and everybody's trying to scream for attention. So now whoever is savvy, a customer, somebody which is going to buy from you, it doesn't matter if you're a speaker, it doesn't matter if you're an expert, it doesn't matter if you have a business, they're going to do a little bit of research about you. And if they don't find anything, what's going to happen? They, of course, your credibility is gone. Now, if they find some negative news, that of course is going to be affecting you. And there's one element before we actually put everything into perspective that we haven't even talked about. And this one fascinates me. Yesterday, in fact, when we were preparing for this episode, I went into a website that is called Deepfakes Web, I think it is. And for $10, you actually have to pay $10 for it. You can train for, I think it is 5 hours. So basically, you train 5 hours. Yourself. So you basically are. It's not that you're going to go there and immediately you put it and it happens like that. You can actually train to any video for 5 hours so that you can actually sound like absolutely any person. So let me just explain how this works. let's say that I would like to get whoever person, let's say I would like to get President Obama or President Trump or Putin talking with my voice, and it will actually look exactly the same thing. So you pay your $10 to this website, and you will put a video of Vladimir Putin, or you will put a video of President Trump or whoever it is, and you will be training your deep fake to talk exactly in the way that you talk, so that actually it would sound exactly like Trump. So you could be talking with your voice, and you could be actually saying everything, and this whole thing in 5 hours gets completely trained, and it looks like if actually it was said by Donald Trump or by Vladimir Putin for $10. Now imagine the craziness that we're going to be living very soon, because not many people know about it. Just have a look at this video. It's going to blow your mind.
We're entering an era in which our enemies can make it look like anyone is saying anything at any point in time.
Jordan Peele created this fake video of President Obama to demonstrate how easy it is to put words in someone else's mouth.
Moving forward, we need to be more vigilant with what we trust from the internet.
Not everyone bought it, but the technology behind such frauds is rapidly improving, even as worries increase about their potential for harm. This is your Bloomberg Quick Take on deepfakes. Deepfakes, or realistic-looking fake videos and audio, gained popularity as a means of adding famous actresses into porn scenes. Despite bans on major websites, they remain easy to make and find. They're named for the deep learning artificial intelligence algorithms that make them possible. Input real audio or video of a specific person, the more the better, and the software tries to recognize patterns in speech and movement. Introduce a new element like someone else's face or voice, and a deepfake is born.
It's actually extremely easy to make one of these things. There were just some supposed, breakthroughs from academic researchers who work with this particular kind of machine learning in the past few weeks, which would drastically reduce the amount of video you need actually to create one of these.
Programs like FakeApp, the most popular and widely available for making deep fakes, need dozens of hours of human assistance to create a video that looks like this, rather than this. In August, researchers at Carnegie Mellon revealed software that accurately rendered not just facial features, but changing weather patterns and flowers in bloom. This advance is not yet available to the public. But with increasing capability comes increasing concern.
This is kind of fake news on steroids, potentially. We do not know of a case yet where someone has tried to use this to perpetrate a kind of fraud or an information warfare campaign, or for that matter, to really damage someone's reputation. But it's the danger that everyone is really afraid of.
In a world where fakes are easy to create, authenticity also becomes easier to deny. People caught doing genuinely objectionable things could claim evidence against them is bogus. Fake videos can also be difficult to detect, though researchers around the world and at the US Department of Defense have said they're working on ways to counter them. Deep fakes do, however, have some positive uses. Take Cereproc, a firm that creates digital voices for people who lose theirs from disease.
Speech synthesis is the artificial production of human speech.
There are also applications that could be considered either good or bad, like the many, many deepfakes that exist solely to turn as many movies as possible into Nicolas Cage movies.
Oh, hi, Mark.
Do you know about Adobe Voice? Now, for anybody who knows about Adobe and Photoshop, you'll have already experienced what it's like to get a photo of your family and then swap all the heads around so they almost look realistic. So you've got your granny's head on a dog, the dog's head on you, and so on. Well, Adobe Voice, which is actually old technology, but you might not know about how effective it is, allows you, first of all, to be able to listen to a piece of audio and it will transcribe it. Now, that's nothing new. But if the audio is long enough, it will understand the voice patterns and allow you to swap the words around on the screen, and it will swap around the audio accordingly. That's not even a thing. So then what it can do, it allows you to start typing things that you didn't say, and the audio will have you saying it. All it needs is 40 to 45 minutes worth of you talking, and the expressions you use, the cadence, the way your voice goes up and down, you take breaks, can be used, and it becomes flawless. So when it's done properly, it can be used to have you say tons of things you didn't use. Now, this technology, as they pointed out there, was originally done so it was cheaper to get Hollywood actors and actresses to come back and revoice bits when the scripts change on a movie without actually coming back into a studio. You can just type it in and it's all there. They're on contract, you can do what you want. You can even have Jennifer Aniston or any celebrity in an advert in Japan, because the voice would move and the lips would move, and if they had a Japanese actress saying the words, then the lips would say it in Japanese and it would be flawless. Now that makes it perfectly good. But here's the thing. While we're in lockdown, you can't go and see people in front of you talking in real life. We have to take it from the news and from the internet. So how much of the stuff that you're watching that's winding you up do you know is actually true?
Yeah. This is exactly the whole point, and that's why you should not be missing tomorrow Fast Forward, as we're going to be talking about how you can actually start securing that specific perimeter around your digital footprint. Now, if you allow me, I'm going to take you into my desktop, and I'm going to show you specifically what you need to do. Mind you, we're telling you what you need to do. We're not telling you how you have to do it. How will be during Fast Forward. So now that you've seen what happens when people create deep fakes or fake news or whatever it is, people are going to look for you. If you're a speaker, if you're an expert, if you are somebody that wants to really position themselves in the virtual world we live in, you cannot only show yourself with one video that you nilly-willy recorded, or 3 videos that you possibly recorded because you were doing some lives. You need to have a structure. And this is the important thing. I want to show you first of all the structure, and then I'm going to tell you exactly how we are going to help you in actually creating this. So the first thing is, for example, if you go here to Google and you type my name, what's going to happen? You're going to find that there's 3 million and something results. Now, have I actually checked the 3 million results? I don't think so, but at least you know the first 3, 4, 5 pages are actually stuff that has to do with me. Now, why is this so critical? Because what happens is that, let's say that you have somebody which is going to be trolling you on the internet, and they're going to create some fake news about you, or they're going to create some deep fake about you, and that's going to be 1, 2, 3 videos. But the more content you have, the more that you're actually dominating your digital footprint, and that is absolutely critical. Now, if you go over here, for example, and you see on you type my name in Google Images, and mind you, this will change depending on where you are. I mean, I do not know why that is, because of course it's just one of Google's secrets. But here in most places here in the United States, if you type Ernesto Verdugo in pictures, you're gonna see that at least I have the first full pages already there. Now, just over here, there's starting to be some pictures which are not me. However, I mean, as you can see, the first page is there. So when people are searching for me, they know that I know what I'm doing, and they know that I am a serious and professional virtual person. Now, if we take it a little bit further and we go into YouTube, you type here my name in YouTube. Now, this, what you're seeing right now here, is my YouTube channel, but it is already, as you can see, has some optimization and some stuff that I will be teaching you in Fast Forward, how to do this, so that you can know how effective your videos are. So basically, as you can see, I mean, there's literally hundreds of videos that I have had. Now, very important, I mean, right now, for the past 10 years or 12 years that I have been in YouTube, I have uploaded something like about 1,000 videos, or possibly something like that. But then what happens is that during this past time in quarantine, I have created a long video, which is basically the episode of the Toilet Paper Diaries, and it has been chopped in little pieces, and basically that creates more content, and that of course gives me more clout. The same thing happens for Dave. So that's why it's so critical that you start taking so serious this story about having videos, because of course that is what's going to actually show your digital footprint. Also, you will need a speaker media kit like I have or like Dave has. If you go to my speaker media kit, you will see that it's perfectly designed for people to hire me as a speaker. Now, if you are missing all these elements, don't worry. What you need to do is make sure that you go to toiletpaperdiaries.com. So toilet paper diaries. Make sure to write down your name and email so that you can get instant access to the Fast Forward show, because what we are going to be teaching you about how to get this done so that you can actually fast forward your professional, your business, your speaking career. It's going to be done through the information that you're going to be learning in Fast Forward. And the only way that you can actually get into the Fast Forward community is if you go to toiletpaperdiaries.com and then you register yourself. Now you know exactly how I have done it, and it hasn't been that difficult, and we're going to be showing you exactly how to get it done. So make sure to go there. But there you go. I mean, so if you have a business, you're a professional, you want to have that clout, that control of your footprint, which right now it's the best way to measure impact. That's what you need to take into consideration, measuring impact. Right now, you can easily go into your Google and see how many results do you have. You can clearly go into your YouTube channel and see how many videos do you have and how many views do you have, and that's exactly how you measure impact at this very point in time. And that's what we're going to be learning tomorrow, how you can actually get all that prepared. So anyway, I hope that you have enjoyed this show, and we see you tomorrow in Fast Forward. Now, make sure if you like this show, make sure to start a watch party. Make sure that everybody that you know can benefit out of this content, and we'll see you tomorrow.